What's up, everyone? I'm just out here in nature pondering why we are existing. What is the whole point of humanity? Like, has anyone ever questioned that? Like, why am I here on Earth? Like, what is the whole purpose of life? And I think the whole purpose of life is to increase our consciousness. And what is consciousness? I think you have these different schools of thought which seek for this increased enlightened form of consciousness, which is outward, is external of what's within us. And it's like this higher being or this spiritual force that is controlling the day-to-day in the world. And I'd like to argue that maybe that's a misleading idea. Maybe consciousness is within all of us. And in order to have higher sense of consciousness, it's not looking outward to this higher being of God or the spiritual force, but maybe it's actually looking more within. And this is more in line with maybe the Buddhist ideas of enlightenment, of realizing that this world is connected, and this idea that consciousness is within all of us and within all of the objects, and the fact that we are humans itself is a form of higher consciousness in comparison to maybe like a lizard or a rat or different animals. And instead we're trying to compare ourselves to maybe like a higher being, like this godly figure, and instead making the realization that maybe we are a step towards that godly figure already. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do with our society, is increase our consciousness, whether it's technology or ideas or innovation or different systems or economic progress or societal influence, whatever it is that's happening in our world. It could even be Mother Nature, like climate change, for instance. It's all about giving us a sense of higher awareness, heightened sense of perception with our experience and how we interact with the world. And if we didn't have consciousness itself, then we wouldn't be able to have this perception of these experiences to then formulate thoughtful and wise decisions as far as what we should be doing with our life. And that's the very thing that is leading us towards this higher sort of evolution, I think, is the fact that we have consciousness. And thinking of it in terms of that, it's like the spirit, this higher force is already within us. And we're actually the catalyst to be able to evolve this human race. It's actually kind of amazing. It's something to be grateful for. It's something that really is grounding and groundbreaking. Honestly, it's wonderful. The fact that we are human beings in this world is something to not take for granted. It's definitely not something to take for granted when you could have been like a walnut, for instance, hanging off of the trees and fall to the ground and then decay into the ground. But maybe the fact that we are human beings doesn't make us even higher beings. Maybe it's the fact that we have consciousness. Yeah, we're grateful for it, but it's also maybe there's consciousness all around us, whether it's in the trees, whether it's in different animals. And it's all about this idea of we're all connected in some way, that we all are one consciousness in union with one another. And there's this like life balance, the cycle of life, that the consciousness that I have right now, that I affect other consciousnesses, and there's like this domino effect. And it's kind of crazy to me. And maybe that's like the whole idea of yoga, is trying to find that union of this realization that we're all one. Whether it's the trees, whether it's the lizard, whether it's me, that we're all directed towards the same goal, which is, again, evolution of consciousness.